Hello fellow Cravers, we are at the end of this special series to look back at 2021 as we finish things off with October, November and December. So sit back, relax, as we look at what makes the headlines in gaming and what games stood out for in 2021. Starting off, we have commonly one of the busiest months when it comes to gaming releases, with this month not being any different. But before all that, let's look at what made the gaming headlines. Starting with the International, one of the biggest esports tournaments in the world, all for one game, Dota 2, which finally celebrated its 10th year after it had to be cancelled last year due to lockdown. But it wasn't the milestone that caught our attention of this. It was more for what was up for grabs, as it had a prize pool of $40 million, making it the largest single tournament prize pool of any esport event, breaking its own record for the 6th time. Also in the headlines, there was the news of a new upgrade to the Nintendo Switch, with many speculating what it would be offering, most expecting a Pro version. But this was not the case, as what we got was an OLED version with a few minor upgrades, as for like a 720p OLED display, with a 1080p when docked, 64GB of internal storage, enhanced audio functions, wider adjustable stand for the tabletop. Yeah, so many great for the few who don't have one, but for those who do, it's better to save your money. So, moving on to October's games, and we start off with something that had been teased for us for a while and finally released at the best month for a game based on surviving hordes of monsters. Back 4 Blood came out on the 12th, with most of us excited as this was the closest thing we were going to get to a sequel of Left 4 Dead. With the game being developed by creators of the original game, bringing with them several key gameplay pillars, mainly the strong emphasis on cooperative teamwork. For those who are not sure what this game is, well, it's an online multiplayer, first-person shooter and survival horror game, where you and 3 of your friends venture out to complete certain tasks while battling hordes of undead mutants. The game got favourable reviews for its PC and PS5 versions, but not so much for the Xbox Series X, with one critic saying the game often plods along casually for periods before unleashing far too much confusion and chaos at once. So moving from one horror game to another, as we are also including the latest game to come out for the Dark Pictures anthology. House of Ashes takes place during the Iraq War, where you take control of characters from both sides of the battlefield, who are falling into an ancient temple buried underground. Just like its predecessors, it's your choice that determine on how the story folds out, and who, if anyone, of the main cast survive while whatever it is lurking in the darkness tries to get them. The game ended up getting average reviews, but was a huge step in the right direction after the Pace Little Hope, the second game in the series, produced. This getting us set up for the season finale of the first part of the anthology, The Devil in Me, releasing later this year. Finally, just a quick mention of a game that released on PC this month. Thanks to a highly popular Squid Games on Netflix, many of us were waiting for someone to make the death game become a bit of a virtual reality. So along came Crab Game. The game was basically Squid Game, as, just like the show, you competed against 49 other players in a wide range of minigames in order to be the last person alive, with the game having the ability to have that be no one. The game, like a lot of other indie titles, got its popularity thanks to its exposure on both Twitch and YouTube. Plus, it's a free-to-play game, with the game getting content updates consisting of new maps, more games, and better optimization for those on lower computers. Heading into November, we continued our rush of game releases. But when it came to headlines, there wasn't really much to talk about, as there was already one story that we had mentioned previously, with Netflix launching its video game service, first on Android, then iOS a week later. Currently, the service is only available in the US at the moment, with no word of when it's going to be coming to other countries, if it even is. But that was not the only news, as G4, the highly popular gaming-focused network, made its return this month after it was shut down in 2014. Heading back not only to TV, but also onto streaming services, with big names in gaming joining in, for example, Austin Creed aka WWE's King Woods and Gerard the Completionist. But this was not the only gaming-focused show to come back to our screens, as so did Games Master. After 23 years, the show was brought back thanks to E4, though at the moment for a short 3-episode run, with the show releasing first on E4's YouTube channel and then 3 days later when it went live on TV. Now, onto the games, and we start off with maybe one of the most beautiful games to come out this year as we head to Mexico to party in Forza Horizon 5. The 12th game in the Forza series and 5th to have the Horizon title, the racing-focused game basically took what made the 4th game great and improved on it, with the map being 50% larger, and also the introduction to a new weather system where you can visit one side of the map and visibly see a storm in the distance on another part of the map. The game received universal acclaim, with it winning multiple awards, with them taking Best Audio, Innovation in Accessibility and Best Sports Racing Game at the Game Awards, and Noteworthy Advancement in Accessibility, Best Racing Game, Best Console Exclusive, and the Game of the Year from IGN. Now, from the greatest to the bad, as we needed to mention at least one letdown this year, and that has to go to Battlefield 2042. The greatest example of a game focusing on the wrong market, as its downfall came from it being online only, with the story being told out as you played the game online. This ended up receiving mixed reviews on all platforms, making it the lowest rated installment in Battlefield series, with one critic saying that this near future sequel has all the components it needs to become a classic entry in the multiplayer series, but it feels like 2042 is many updates away from reaching its full potential. But it wasn't just disappointing to critics, but players too, with it receiving almost 30,000 negative reviews by the end of its first weekend, with gamers criticising extensive bugs, lack of features previously included in older titles, and the several changes to the gameplay. Finally, for November, we have a game that I am currently enjoying, but at the same time I understand of the divided views on the game, that is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. As the trend is for Pokemon at the moment, the remake of the 4th generation of long-running series basically keeps to the original game story as closely as possible, while taking a couple of new features from newer games, like for example the character customization, the expansion to the underground, and letting Pokemon follow you around, just to name a few things to make the experience familiar to veterans to the series while introducing new players at the same time. But the most polarizing part of this remaster came in the game's design, as the game ended up taking on a more chibi design familiar to what we had been done with the Zelda Link's Awakening released last year. Still, it was a great game to get us back into the Pokemon spirit, just in time for Pokemon Legends being released later this month. And so we are at the end of the year with December, but it doesn't mean there wasn't anything worth mentioning apart from the Game Awards, showing off a ton of games for us to look forward to this year. But one final and notable acquisition took place in December, as Tencent purchased Turtle Rock Studios, who were the developers behind October's Back 4 Blood. Well, now that the headlines are out of the way, we have 3 games that took our interest in December, starting with The Gunk, an action-adventure game where you take control of Rani, a scavenger who has arrived on an alien planet with her partner Beck, where they discovered that it has been polluted by a substance known as the gunk, which can be removed by their power glove, helping the wildlife to thrive. The game ended up getting decent reviews, with most praising the game's art direction, gratifying feeling, though they did criticise the gameplay's loop lack of iteration over the course of the 5-hour campaign. Next, we are heading back to the world of creepy animatronics that want to kill us, as the 8th main game in the FNAF franchise came out in December. This time you take control of a young boy called Gregory, who is locked in a large mall filled with murderous animatronics, where you are set numerous missions to complete to survive the night in order to escape. The game ended up receiving praise for the game's graphics, the free roam gameplay not seen in previous titles, the plot, the characters, multiple music score, and its horror elements. Finally, we have to end this year in review with one of the most anticipated games of the year that in the end did not let us down, with most saying the extra year of delays ended up being a great thing for it. Halo Infinite finally released this month, with it being the 6th game in the mainline entries and the 3rd and final part of the Reclaimed saga. The game ended up getting generally favourable reviews, with critics saying Halo as you never seen it before and the best it's been in a decade, with the game receiving the Player's Voice from the Game Awards. So there you have it, that is 2021 done and dusted, with us heading into a whole new year of gaming. But I want to know, what was